Next, we're going to use VLookUp in exercise 2 to obtain the names of the student, okay, found here. So what we do is we're given a bunch of student ID. We want to be able to fill in the student's name, mentor, and grades. Okay, and we're going to use VLookUp. Let me first, for cosmetic reasons, let's just draw in the border. I'm going to bold and do some shading just to get that going. Okay, so we want to fill in this white space here, the student's name, mentor's name, and so on. So we're going to be doing our VLookUp here. Okay, but before we do any VLookUp, it's important to first define the lookup table. In this case, our lookup table is found in the giant data list found in the first tab, okay, which is contains the ID, name, and all these things. Okay, so coming back to here, so that we have it, student ID, name, gender, and so on, that whole thing, and lastly mentor's name. So what we're going to do is we first going to select the whole table, but please exclude the header row. Okay, we only want the white space that contains data. We don't want the header. The headers not needed for VLookUp. Okay, VLookUp is not going to look for student, student name. They're only looking for all these contents. Okay, so select the whole table contents. Then I'm going to go across the row and I'm going to go down 500. Once we got it selected, we're going to name it using the name box. Okay, so once that's selected, careful there, don't click out. Okay, we got that selected. We're going to go to the name box at the top left hand side, click it, and now we're going to name it. I'm going to name it as student table, okay, or student data. Okay, student table. Okay, let's call it student data. Okay, and I'm going to click enter. So what we have done is to name this table as student table. Okay, if you remember in VLookUp in the earlier one, we have to where we have the lookup value, which will be by student ID. We have the lookup table, which we have just named as student data, and the third thing that VLookUp wants to know is the column index number. Okay, and we're looking for student name, mentor's name, and student grade. So take note that in our master list here, the student data, the name is found in column 2. Okay, column 1 is student ID, name is column 2. So what I'm going to just indicate here is student name is found in column 2 of our student data. Okay, this I'm writing this first for working sake, so that we later during the VLookUp we are not caught off guard. Okay, mentor's name, what column would mentor's name be? Okay, it's found all the way here, the last one. Okay, what column number is that? Let's count together. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for letter grade, 17 for mentor ID, and 18 for mentor name. Mentor name is column 18 in our student data. So let's quickly note that down. Student grade, if mentor's name was 18, student's grade here would be 16, column 16. Okay, so we just do a simple counting there. Okay, why we're typing this in now is for convenience when we're doing our VLookUp. Okay, so let's begin. Equal to VLookUp, open bracket. So the lookup value in this case, given the student's ID here, that is what we're given. Okay, that's our first one, and I'm going to type comma. Next, the lookup table was, earlier we named it as student data, and the autocomplete is prompting. I'm going to go for that and double click that, and then I'm going to put a comma. Now column index number, good thing we have done it here already, so we know student name we're looking for is in column 2 of student data. So I'm going to type 2, that's a column index number, and then put a comma. And lastly, do we allow range or disallow range? In this case, please disallow the range lookup. We do not accept range. We want this student ID and this ID only. Okay, we don't want an approximate. Okay, so click on false here. We want exact match. We don't want a range lookup. Okay, and then with that done, enter, and we're going to generate this down. Okay, mouse over the bottom right and double click, and we have all our students name there. Okay, do the same for the next few. Mentor's name, it's the same VLOOKUP formula, it's just that the column index number is going to be different now. VLOOKUP. Okay, lookup value again, you can either click this one or that one, but I will click the given question rather than rely on an answer that I've given, which might be wrong. So I'm going to use the student ID again. Table array, that's our lookup table, which we called it student data, and hit the autocomplete, double click this, comma. Next is the index number. So mentor's name is column 18. I'm going to type 18, comma, and again regarding range lookup, no, we don't allow range. So we click false. So we insist it to be exact to the student's ID there. Okay, so click false, double click, and enter. Okay, and take this formula, mouse over the bottom right, and generate down. Okay, so these are the mentor's name. Last one, in the same vein, equal to VLOOKUP. Again, lookup value, I'll take the given student's ID over here, comma. Lookup table will be student data. Begin typing student data, and then go for the autocomplete, double click, comma. Column index number, we are looking for the grade, which is column 16, so I'm going to type 16, comma. And lastly, again, they're asking do you allow range or not. In this case, we don't want range, we want all exact to the student ID. So click on false, okay, double click, sorry, and then enter. And given that, we will double click down and fill in the rest. Okay, so that concludes the VLOOKUP exercise. Okay, so in this exercise here, we have all used the exact match, whereas in the previous exercise where we were tracking the grade number, we were using a range lookup. By the way, just to mention one point, some of you may have noticed, why is this second person getting a D plus when they got 60? Okay, because once you hit 60, you should qualify for a C. Why is still D plus? Okay, the answer is like that. Excel is displaying 2 decimal places, okay, and rounding it up to 60 for display purpose. So let's open the decimal places here. Okay, I'm going to open it, and you see that it's not 60. It's actually just short of 60, but it's 59.99. Okay, 59.996. So when you insist on displaying 2 decimal numbers, then Excel will show you 60.00. Okay, but actually it's not yet. So okay, nothing wrong with your formula. It's just that the display doesn't accommodate that.